Hey, this is Buff Bagwell, and you're watching the Card Subject Change podcast. Check it out.
Welcome back to the show!
Welcome back to the show!
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. And I am your host, one of your hosts, the Wizard CZ. Never Wrong Nick Bull will hopefully be able to join us here as we get into the episode. He's been a little delayed right now. That's why we're a little late going on, but no problems. Before we get started, I'm excited for our guest, but before I bring him in, I got to give a huge shout out to Central Empire Wrestling and Bridge City Slam for welcoming us, the 2 Count and Shotgun Wrestling Radio, into the midst yesterday for the pre-show that we were able to do. That was a lot of fun, and kudos to them for another excellent Bridge City Slam. I'm excited for next year. We're going to be doing the podcast pre-show one more time. That's going to be fantastic. But like I said, without further ado, I'm super excited. Today in studio, we have an Iowa legend. I've been wanting to speak with this gentleman for a long time. He's been a part of so many great things here in the state of Iowa and in the Midwest. I'm just going to bring him in and let him tell his story. Let's welcome into the studio Mr. James Jeffries. James, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm a little tired, but it's a good tired. You know, it's like we were talking off air. It's been a couple of busy weeks. I'm excited for a little bit of a rest, but I'm also excited to talk with you today.
You bet you. Well, thank you for having me on. You know,
absolutely.
I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem. I'm glad you're able to make it. I'm glad we were able to carve out some time for you. James, I'm going to kick things off, and I'm going to ask the question that usually Nick fires off to all our first-time guests. Why pro wrestling? What was it that got you hooked?
So I used to watch wrestling growing up. My mother tells me that my dad would sit me on his lap, and we'd watch WWF Wrestling Challenge and Superstars.
Okay.
My dad was always a wrestling fan. And it was just something that we watched together as a father and son. So, throughout like a lot of the WCW and the WWF, Monday Night Wars, just always watched together. So I just developed a fandom that way. And I can remember I was just thinking, man, you got Cops and Papa Shangos and Ultimate Warriors and Hulk Hogan's and Superfly Snookas. And I mean, you had all these superheroes on television. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. It's like, man, these are real people that are like cartoons. So it was something I always enjoyed watching. So it was, and as the years went by, I'm like, hey, I really want to be a wrestler, like some of the, guys and gals I watched on TV. So it looked like a pretty fun way of life and a fun athletic sport. So
absolutely. Yeah. Do you remember that moment where you said, I have to do this?
Yeah. So I was probably junior in high school, and I was watching wrestling, quite a bit and researching it and everything. Excuse me. And my mom took me to a WWE house show, and it was a real good time. It was the first time that WWE had been to Rochester in 10 years. I grew up in Riceville, Iowa, and Rochester, Minnesota was just an hour from my house.
Okay.
So that's where I went to matches, was either there or up at the Target Center. But I can remember like just sitting in the crowd and being like, hey, I got to do this. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And just wanted to find any way to get into it. So.
That's awesome. I want to back up a little bit. You're talking my wheelhouse, Monday Night War era, the Attitude Era. Were you a WCW guy or were you a WWF guy?
So I liked both, but I would say I loved watching Stone Cold, and I liked watching, Sting. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say I watched more WCW when Sting was feuding with Hulk Hogan and the NWO. Like, I remember that build pretty well. And, Lex Luger too. He was kind of the first threat to the NWO when he beat Hulk.
Yep.
And then Hulk beats him back, and then Sting, he's doing his thing every week. So I felt like there was just so much good stuff on that I'd say I watched more WCW up until Sting beat Hulk, and then kind of shifted over. I feel like, if my memory's right, I feel like after Sting beat Hulk, Stone Cold was starting to get hot.
Yeah.
So I definitely watched more Stone Cold and more WWF after the big Starrcade match. So, but yeah, I like both of them quite a bit.
In that regard, the Starrcade match, there was a lot of disappointment in how that turned out. Was that something that maybe swayed the tides for you to go over and watch Stone Cold, or were you all right with the ending of this Starrcade match between Sting and Hogan?
Yeah, I was all right with it. I watched the tape of it after it happened. We didn't watch it on pay-per-view or anything, but I didn't really understand things like that when it happened.
Right.
That it was kind of a screwy finish and stuff like that. And I felt like the way they explained it on Nitro and Thunder after that, I was like, okay, no problem. I think what swayed me over to the WWF was just Stone Cold was doing such crazy stuff with Vince McMahon and various others that I didn't want to miss that. And I actually got to see him wrestle live one time too, Stone Cold, when I was in 4th grade. And people just went nuts for him in the live crowd. And like, Dad and I always enjoyed watching him. So I just think for whatever reason, yeah, I just went more heavy into the WWF stuff after the Starrcade match.
I can understand that. And I don't know that there is ever going to be a rivalry that can top what Stone Cold and McMahon had.
Right.
That's one of the greatest rivalries, in my opinion. There's some that come close. I would put Brett and Shawn up there. But that rivalry that they had, as an adult now, it's not something I would have thought about back because I was in high school during this time.
Yeah.
But as an adult now and having bosses that I really wasn't a fan of, how cool would it be to just be able to punch your boss in the face and get away with it?
Man, it'd be great. I feel like everybody would want to do it, Like, yeah, it's just sometimes your boss gets on your nerve, and Stone Cold was the only one that stood up to his boss, It just was I think it was a pretty special time, Grew up in a pretty special time with the Monday Night Wars and kind of the shifting from the golden age of wrestling to a little bit more edgier. So it was a neat transition time.
And WWF, whatever, needed to do something because WCW was just blowing them out of the water, and they were still having these cartoony, I have to have a second job characters that just wasn't working. The crowd wasn't gravitating towards them. They wanted something more real now that the NWO had come into play.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, and yeah, Hulk being a bad guy was a pretty big thing too. You know, he all those years as, red and yellow good guy, and then told the fans, "Hey, I did it for the money," and just they needed something, and it's, I don't know, it's pretty fascinating, and to look back on it now and watch a lot of that stuff on the internet and Peacock and things. It's pretty fascinating.
And I love that. I'm one of the guys who would flip back and forth. Not I wouldn't flip back and forth live. What I would do, I would watch Monday Night Raw, and then WCW Nitro would always have a replay immediately following. So
Yeah.
I'd click right over and I'd stay up late and watch the other guys.
Oh, very nice.
My thing right now, I've been going through. I just had this itch to watch WCW Monday Nitro from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite to the NWO yet. I'm in just started April of 96. 96.
Nice.
But I was upset with Peacock because they took Monday Night Raw away when it went to Netflix. All of the archives of Monday Night Raw are gone. I was going to go back and watch them both.
Yeah, I noticed that there are not as many on, or it seems like there's not as many on Netflix, right? Maybe they'll add them all later on, but
they have a best of things on Netflix, but it's not the same as the actual archive.
Oh yeah. People like to watch the full shows and stuff. And did you ever tape one show and watch the other live? Did you ever do that?
I remember doing that a handful of times.
Yeah, I used to do that too. Record WCW and then watch Raw one week, or vice versa. So
Nick's always been big in the tape trading days, and that was a good time. I think that's a lot of people. Where we've talked about WWF and WCW. There's another player in the game, maybe not as big, but tape trading days brought ECW into the limelight for a lot of people.
Yeah, that was a cool promotion too. Actually, Fritz von Erich in his book talks about he was a fan of ECW. When they were coming on, he said it reminded him a lot of the things they were doing in Texas with World Class. But I can remember watching them when they were on TNN. I can't remember if it was opposite roller derby or how that worked, but it was first thing I saw of ECW was the Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam match. And
okay,
it was really cool. I'm like, man, there's another promotion out there, and good stuff.
It was an exciting, and it kind of feels like now, back then and now, I can compare the two together because there was such a multitude of things you could watch, maybe not as easily accessible as today.
Yeah.
But I always look at wrestling. There's a couple of different ways to put it. I always think of it as a buffet. There's something there for everybody.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It has some comedy, some seriousness, some big feuds getting settled. I always enjoyed it. I always thought it was, just had a little bit of everything. And I always felt like too, if you just give it a chance, maybe it's not for everybody, but if you just watched one episode or even watch what it's become now with all their production and stuff, it's a pretty amazing pro wrestling being it. Pro wrestling is a pretty amazing form of art.
I agree. And such tremendous athleticism coupled with the drama and the storytelling. I mean, I'm a sucker for storytelling, but I'm a sucker for a good match also.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you this, James, and this is something that I haven't asked anybody on the show, so you get to be my guinea pig.
Okay.
If you were to bring someone who has never watched pro wrestling into the fold, what is the first match you're showing them?
Never bring bring someone in who's never watched pro wrestling. I would show them Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man from WrestleMania 5.
Okay.
Because I think you can kind of get the backstories from the commentators.
Right.
And you have Elizabeth outside too. She can't make a decision of, hey, I like both of you. I like the Hulks, or, I was both of your manager, and it tells a good, two former friends butting heads. And I think it's a really good match. And yeah, I'd show them that one.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty good time for wrestling, pretty good, entertaining match, and I think it gives you a good I don't want to say beginning grasp because it's a fantastic match, but I think it's a good one to check out. I think it stands the test of time.
I can agree with that. That for me, that's right where that's my earliest memory is that feud. The Mega Powers explode.
Nice.
I wasn't quite into it with the whole Andre feud going into WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hold on. Give me just a second.
No problem at all.
Sorry. We like I said, we have Nick who was delayed a little bit. He's just messaging me now. I think he's going to try and come in with us. But
nice.
When you decided that you wanted to get into this business, what was it like stepping in the door and getting into that training? And what was your training like?
So when I went to look to see where to train, I can remember, I was pretty undersized, Hey, Nick. But I can remember I'd heard of OVW's wrestling school.
Okay.
And I thought, hey, I didn't know the independents were a thing either. So I'm like, hey, where do I go to get into wrestling? And when I was a junior in high school, this was shortly after I went to that WWE live show. I went up to an indie show up in Rochester, Minnesota, and Baron von Raschke was signing autographs. And I went up to the Baron, got his autograph, and I just asked him, I said, hey, where do you go or how do you get into pro wrestling? And he was very nice to me, and he goes, hey, he said, there's a guy named Brad Reinigans that has a school here in Minnesota. And he said, if you could give me your name and your number, I'll get a hold of Brad. And he's over in Japan right now, but I'll give him your name and your number, and I'll get back in touch with you. He's like, don't wait by your phone or anything because it could be a while. But 2 weeks later, I was out picking rock, and it was one of the jobs up there in Riceville. You pick rock, or it didn't have a lot of places to work, really. It was a small town. But I was picking rock, and I get back from picking rock, and my mom goes, hey, Baron von Raschke called you. I'm like, no kidding. I wasn't sure if he'd ever call. He's a super nice guy, but you never know, But he called, and Mom goes, he wants you to call him back. He left his phone number. So I called the Baron. He gave me Brad's address, and he said, hey, just write him a letter and, tell him who you are and that you'd like to get into wrestling. So I sent a letter to Brad, and Brad was no longer training wrestlers anymore. And so I called Baron back, and I said, hey, where Where else would you recommend? He said Harley Races School, WLW down in Missouri. So Barron sent me down to Harley, and then I went to see Harley, and same thing. Harley was very nice to me, showed me around his school. I was undersized at the time and not big enough for his school. So Harley sent me to Travis up in Algona, TS Aggressor. So,
Okay.
And I met TS at the Hall of Fame event in Waterloo, because Harley used to do the wrestling show there, and TS used to work a lot for Harley. So he was renting his ring out, and he was in the crowd. And it's so weird because around the same time, I had seen Travis and Impact Pro Wrestling on KIMT. They had a commercial and a story on there. So I talked to Travis, and I was like, hey, how big do I need to be? I'd really like to wrestle. And he goes, I think you're big enough now. Just come over and check out our wrestling school. So my dad, once again, took me over to the Vault over in Algona when it was located there. And we checked out the wrestling school. And I started with TS and another guy by the name of Johnny Fitness. You guys know who Johnny Fitness is?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm having trouble placing it.
Was he a reality star?
He was not, but he looks like he could be. He's got he's got a build and a look for TV. But so Johnny Fitness was one of Travis's first students. And the whole funny thing is, it all ties in here. Travis was trained by Brad Reinigans, so it's all these dot connectors. Trav trained with Brad. He wrestled with Harley, like I thought it kind of came full circle for me right there. But Johnny Fitness was one of Travis's first students, and he was helping as kind of an assistant coach, so I got to train with both of them, and they were great coaches, and they were very welcoming, and they always pushed you to work really hard at training. And it was just a very safe and great wrestling school to go to. I mean, the first day we came to visit, they're like, hey, do you want to jump off the top rope onto the crash pad? I'm like, yes, I've been waiting my whole life to do that. And yeah, it was just really cool. I'm like, I talked to Dad, and he's like, yeah, I think that'd be a good place for you to go. So I started with Travis and Johnny Fitness in August of 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just think, James, how much wrestling has changed. Let's do the quick math here. 18 years, and quote unquote smaller guys are all over the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
If you want to put guys in quotations, the smaller framed guys are all over everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And even wrestling in Iowa too. Like there's so many promotions in Iowa, and there's so many more independent promotions, period. That, cause like when I got in wrestling, the independent wrestling was kind of looked at as, you do that stuff. Well, a few years later, the indies start to boom. And I think some of the best wrestlers are on the independents and just haven't, made it up to WWE or TNA or AEW, what have you. There's some tremendous talent out there. It's amazing to me.
And here in the Midwest, especially in Iowa, there's such good training facilities out there.
Yep.
You mentioned the Vault. We've got Black and Brave here in the Quad Cities.
Yes.
APW just started their training school. Yeah. And not only now, but back then there was so much talent to come out of this area. it's amazing. And seeing some of them now, seeing some of the younger kids coming up, like, we'll fast forward a little bit, James. You have now trained a lot of the people that Nick and I go and see. Like, I'll just name a couple off the top of my head: Damian Saint, Bryce Jordan, the Hale twins, which all of them were at Bridge City last night, doing a hell of a job.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was talking before a little bit. I feel like I had a very small part in their wrestling. I'm very thankful to have gotten to coach and work with, the ones you just mentioned. And I get to see so many of them on these various shows too. It's just, when Impact Pro Wrestling came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to do some coaching," I was very honored that they asked me to do that, because they could have asked anybody to coach wrestlers. And I really enjoyed the coaching process, and I felt like it gave me a little bit more longevity too. And it was such a blast, and it is such a blast to watch people that come in with the same dream that you have succeed, and some of them are just so talented, and they're just getting their start too. Like, the Hale twins, Bryce Jordan, Ethan Everhart, who else? Victor Payne. I mean, we've only seen the beginning of so many of them, and I think for years to come, they're going to be fantastic to watch. And I just really enjoyed the coaching process. And I got to work with my coach, TS, Travis, a little bit too. So it was a good learning experience for me.
We're here with James Jeffries on the Card Subject Change podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. James, how crazy is it where here you are just 18 years removed from writing a letter to the Claw, trying to get into the business, and here you are, you're helping all these other people get into the business. Would James Jeffries 18 years ago imagine this happening the way it has, just how wrestling is now?
No. And, somebody opened the door for me and helped me. And I think we need to, as wrestlers, pay it forward to the next generation, and, in a positive way. I would have never guessed that my journey in wrestling would have happened the way that it happened. And I oftentimes I'll say, hey, I think where I ended up is where I was supposed to be the entire time. So I just I feel very grateful for the journey I've had so far. I'm still going out there and enjoying wrestling too myself, but I could have never guessed that the very same school I went to, I ended up coaching at, and then have just got to work with so many of my students that I've trained and different legends. And I see Baron all these years later, and getting to still see him out and about. And, on Waterloo, he's putting the claw on AJ Smooth and putting the claw on Matty Starr in the main event. And I remember it was so neat. And I was so, for years, I wasn't sure if Baron would remember me or not. I always hoped he would. And then I walked up to him and I told him who I was. He's like, "Well, I wondered what happened to you." So, it's been a pretty cool journey. And if it wasn't for Baron opening the door for me and for Travis, I'd have never got to be a coach. So I hope with all my coaching, I hope I helped somebody or inspired somebody to be a wrestler. That's my hope.
I just think it's so wonderful how Baron Von Raschke is tied into this. And then and I know how much the Tragos, the Tragos Hall of Fame, the Tragos Stes Hall of Fame Waterloo weekend means to you.
Yeah.
And when I think of Baron von Raschke now, I think of him this past year's celebration. It's 12:30 in the morning on Sunday morning, and he's getting a round of applause from all the people that are at the bar that came to the show and are hanging out and having a good time. Baron von Raschke, everybody, 12:30 in the morning, getting a round of applause. And I know how much that event means to you in Waterloo. So hearing you bring up Baron von Raschke, and then hearing what you said about how much wrestling means to you at your father when you said those words this last weekend, it's just like this is like a made-for-TV movie. Except,
thank you.
James Jeffries is in it, and Baron von Raschke is a part of it. It's awesome. I just love that story.
I'm glad. I appreciate you saying that. And Baron's such a good human being, and like I appreciate you coming up to that lifetime members banquet too. And hey, that's great that you're a lifetime member. Because the museum, you guys know it's a special place. It's a history of both amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, MMA, and it's right here in the state of Iowa. And it's
right in your backyard.
Yeah. Yep. It's right in my backyard. And it's just so cool to see so many people get awards for all the hard work that they've done. And like Baron von Raschke is a prime example. He got the Impact Award, and he goes, did I have a good impact or a bad impact? And Chad told him, you had a good impact. And everybody who's ever met him, ever watched him wrestle, knows that he's had a good impact. So, yeah, it's just the Tragos Stes Hall of Fame is a great place, and I appreciate you guys supporting it too, because it's a good time every year, I think.
Yes. 100%.
Best weekend of the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way, and yeah, it just I've had so much fun with wrestling, and so much joy out of wrestling. My wife, Miss Frankie J, we met. She trained a few years after me. I met her at the wrestling school, and we have a son named Kerry. So, I mean, I definitely feel grateful. So, very thankful. Wrestling gave me a lot. So,
for sure. James, let me ask you this. We've talked a lot about your training, you're being a trainer. Haven't talked a lot about your in-ring work. Let's just start from the beginning. What was that first match like for you, walking out to the ring and experiencing the crowd for the first time?
It was awesome. You work so hard in the training process, and your first match, you kind of remember most of the day. I'd say, from the car ride to what you ate, and like, hey, I put so much work into this that I just want to go out there and I hope that we entertain them, because you can only prepare so much, and then, hey, they might not be into your match. And, you hope that every time you go out there, but it was amazing. It's like everything that you ever worked hard for coming true. It's like, hey, I did it. I went through wrestling school, and now I'm having my first match. And then you want to have the next match. And it's, you definitely are nervous, and, you got all sorts of energy, and your mind's going 100 miles a minute. It's an amazing feeling.
James, how long did it take you to get to the point where you aren't nervous before matches? Or are you still nervous before matches and that just never goes away?
I still get nervous before matches, and I don't think it goes away. As time goes on, you get more comfortable in the ring. But but about the time you start getting comfortable, then you got an even bigger match, or you're throwing a different scenario. So it's like a fun nervousness, if that makes sense. It's not to where you don't want to be there. It's like, man, I can't wait to get out there.
Sure.
Walk us through an event day for you. What do you do leading up to the match? Do you have any superstitions, any rituals that you go through before you step in the ring on any particular show?
I don't usually, I try and, eat something that's not going to bog me down so I can move around and feel light, but I'll also stretch out too. And especially now, I'm 36, started when I was 18. So I like to get in and stretch out a little bit more just so I'm loose. And then, gosh, what else? Just trying to leave, to help set up the ring and everything, and enjoy as much time as you can with the different wrestlers. So, I usually work out during the week, but don't on the show days. So I have in the past, but I don't right now. Just try and hit it during the week. So, yeah.
James, with a son named Kerry, gotta believe that Kerry Von Erich's had a pretty big impact on you. Is he the guy that you have really focused on and patterned yourself after? Was that your guy growing up?
Oh yeah. I stole all his stuff.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I nothing wrong with Kerry Von Erich. I love it, man.
Yeah, Kerry. Kerry's my favorite, and I tried to pattern myself a lot after him, and I tried to make it my own too a little bit, So like when I first read about the Von Erichs in a book that I had, it was like pro wrestling history or something, and it was there was this little chapter that said the curse of the Von Erichs. Well, and then I read it, and it's brothers who wrestled. My dad took me and my brothers to amateur wrestling matches, so it kind of resonated with me that way. I'm like, hey, these are brothers that wrestle. My brothers wrestle, and then you start to kind of research world class and different things like that. And there was just something about Kerry Von Erich that really resonated with me. The way the fans reacted to him, the way he did his matches, just kind of, he always looked like he was having a good time out there in the ring. And yeah, I really wanted to be a lot like him. A lot of the fringe and stuff I wear, I stole from him. Discus punch I use as a tribute to Kerry.
Absolutely.
My top 5 wrestlers of all time are Kerry Von Erich, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, and Superstar Billy Graham. So
okay, I like that's a good list.
Yeah, thank you. So I tried to take a little bit from all of them. Like when I was a heel, me and the Big Picture were a team. I used to wear a feather boa and some sunglasses, and then Superstar used to wear a bandana to the ring. So I, put a bandana and wore pink and black and tried to be flamboyant like the Superstar, So, but yeah, it was difficult at first too. Like when you're first wrestling, figuring out who you want to wrestle like, or what you want to wear to the ring. And I can remember thinking one day, I'm like, why don't I just wear a lot of stuff like a lot of the 80s wrestlers did and try and be like a throwback? So I hope when I come out to the ring that people see me as a throwback with the moves and how I dress. I don't know.
I think it works.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that. I try.
So, James, the name of the show is Card Subject to Change. Every once in a while, we do like to play a little fantasy booking with our guests. Is there anyone that you have never stepped in the ring with that you would love to have a match with?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'd like to, gosh, when I want to think of who it is, I always draw a blank. But, Austin Aries was always one. I got to step into the ring with him. Can they be passed on?
Absolutely.
Any way you want. Yep.
I would have loved to wrestle Mr. Perfect. And I would have loved to have got in there with Baron von Raschke at his height. I'd love to get in there with Randy Orton and wrestle. Bobby Roode, those guys are both fantastic. So those are ones that come to mind. Yeah, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, guys that are still doing it. Jay Lethal, as the Black Machismo. I'd love to wrestle.
That would be an interesting matchup. And Jay Lethal's such a good dude, man. He does not get enough credit for how long he's been in the business and stuck around. And if you've ever had a chance to meet him, he's one of the coolest dudes ever. So, props to Jay Lethal. I'm glad you brought him up.
I hope to meet him someday. Another guy is Tatanka. I'd love to wrestle Tatanka. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Jay Lethal. I mean, he's still going strong. I feel, he's kind of timeless. I think.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Always be remembered as being part of Ric Flair's very last match.
Yeah,
he's had a few of them, but this is probably it.
Yeah. I watched that match too, and I enjoyed it, and that's cool that he's a nice guy. You guys know that sometimes you meet some wrestlers, and hopefully more of them are cool than not cool. So, yeah, it's
he's one of the good guys. I will say that.
Yes,
he's one of the good guys.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yep.
Is there any storyline that you think you would fit well into that you've watched in your wrestling life?
Any storyline I think I'd fit well into that I've watched in my wrestling life? Gosh. Oh, boy.
And no, CZ, he does not want to be Macho Man getting bit by the cobra of Jake the Snake Roberts. No.
No. I don't want no way. Because I'd faint. I'd get sick like Macho Man did, and that'd be the end. That'd be the end of me. Man, I think I don't know, getting in there when the $1 Million Man had his $1 million belt and being a challenger of him. I think I'd be okay there. Or selfishly, I'd love to be a third partner for the Von Erichs in AEW and be like a wannabe Von Erich or something. They could throw me around onto the opponents. So
you talked about how the Von Erichs used to come to the ring. I mean, Kerry Von Erich was mobbed. I mean, he essentially could have been the fifth Beatle. The way he got mobbed and the girls just threw themselves at him as he's getting kissed by numerous girls on the way to the ring. Those worldwide shows are a thing to go back and watch just to show people people were, bat crap crazy for wrestling in Texas back in the day. And these guys were at the eye of the hurricane.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like the world class shows, I feel like they remind me, the indies remind me a lot of the world class shows. Very intimate like that. There's no barricade a lot of times. Passionate wrestling fans. Some of the best matches that anybody will ever see that may not be recorded. I mean, you guys have probably seen many matches that nobody has on camera that you're like, hey, that was one of them. I don't know. I'm bouncing all over the place. One of the best matches I ever saw, the three of us were at a few weeks ago at that Convergence show.
Yeah.
Fatal 4-Way with Ethan Everhart, Gable Galileo, Jimmy Wild, and forgive me, I forget the The last one.
I can't think of him off the top of my head.
The 3XW Pure Champion, I think. I can't remember his name. That's one of the best matches I've ever seen, and yeah, I always, circling back to World Class, I always, there was something about the Von Erichs when they came out that I feel like people just believed in them, and they really loved their fans too. So I just think that it was awesome to root for them because you knew that they were going to go in there and fight. So,
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find his name. I was looking on the event page, but I can't find the card on there.
Yeah,
I remember the match. 3 of us saw the match,
Yes.
and we can't remember. I mean, that's just aging, I guess.
Yeah. We're all getting forgetful in our old age, guys.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
As the fact, I forgot the beginning of the show was out cold.
That's okay. You gotta get some rest, man.
Passed out after the football game, but here I know. I'm kidding. I'm glad you're here. We're here with James Jeffries here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. James, what's your favorite thing in current product? That is, if you keep up with current product, what out there today catches your eye of the current product that you tune in for?
Oh gosh, I don't keep up a lot, but I do pretty good with watching the pay-per-views. I think anything with the bloodline, that whole group, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, I'll watch any time they're doing something on there. I think this AJ Lee, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, if they end up doing a match, I think I'll watch it. I'll be excited to watch it. And I think that'll be pretty great. And it's been cool to watch John Cena's, farewell tour. He's had some good matches, and you could tell he really loves the wrestling business. And I like watching him. Those are ones that come to mind anyways.
Who would you book as Cena's last opponent?
Who would I book as Cena's last opponent? Goodness. His last opponent. Not Brock Lesnar.
Nope.
But I think he and Brock Lesnar would be just fine. If it seems like they might have another match or something. John Cena's last opponent. Gosh. I don't know, goodness, I'm blanking on who. Maybe somebody like Jacob Fatu or Solo,
okay.
Somebody like that.
I see where you're going. The younger guy coming and getting some rub from one of the all-time greats. I hope they go that way. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I mean, I think a lot of people would like to see Edge and John Cena one more time, but I think Edge is tied up contractually. I do too. So I don't think we're going to see that. So a Jacob Fatu would be good. A guy who's going to be around for the next, 20 years. We can say 20 years prior. He was John Cena's last match. We need a guy to bridge the generations here. So I hope it's somebody like that.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, if everybody were healthy and the pieces would align perfectly, I would love to see him end it where he began it with Kurt Angle. I know that
Don't say that. Don't tease us, man. Don't say that.
Yeah, I think we'd all love to see that. That'd be great.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
James, what's with all the access, and you and I talked a little bit before we went on the air, with all the access to all the wrestling that's out there, what is something that you can go back and just watch on end without stopping?
I like a lot of the golden age of wrestling, the 88 till 94 92, WWF. Like I find myself watching a lot of that stuff. I love the world, like Peacock has all the world-class stuff, so I can watch that. I pick and choose some of the nitros here and there, but I enjoy those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say those. I watch a lot of old stuff. It just depends on what mood I am in, and they don't have to be great matches either. Like there'll be some days where I'll watch the Renegade wrestle an enhancement guy, just because it's just what I'm feeling. Or I'll watch Goldberg wrestle or NWO. I was watching some NWO stuff the other night. Have you guys seen the stuff on the WWE Vault YouTube page?
Yes, off and on. I know they have the WWE Vault page. They also have a WCW
I've
Vault
seen
page,
that one too.
and there's some really cool stuff on there.
Yes. Both of those channels I find myself watching a lot. Like they just put some stuff from the Omni on the WWE Vault, and they put those old Coliseum videos and things on there, and I just love I love that stuff. And I bought a lot of the Coliseum videos from old video stores back in the day, and I would have never guessed now that they'd have a network, Peacock or YouTube. I still got all, most of my stuff, but yeah, you can just watch so much wrestling, old and new. And I think it's cool that there's old stuff out there because, it's neat that, hey, maybe my son someday will know who Hulk Hogan is or Goldberg or, it's just, there's some great characters over the years, great wrestlers.
100%. I'm not as into the older stuff. Like I'm only starting, to go back to World Class and AWA. My wheelhouse has more been where you were talking, the late 80s to early 90s, and then the Attitude Era. That's where I gravitate towards. But with everything out there, you can't go wrong immersing yourself in any era of pro wrestling. There's something there that you're going to find interesting no matter what age you are.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some characters going to resonate with you, some wrestlers, some storyline, something that reminds you of your childhood. I don't know. It's just, I think if people watch wrestling one time and just maybe it doesn't hook them, but man, I think if they just give it a try once, I think they'd get enjoyment out of it like we have. So.
James, you're absolutely right. I think everybody's pro wrestling fan. It's just a dirty little secret to admit it, because when you're at a show and you're in the moment and enjoying the show, if everybody else would just listen to you, they'd feel the same way, but they just can't. I love how pro wrestling is always centered around, we're not going to forget about the past, but we're looking forward to the future. And I think you are like the poster child for that, because you have enjoyed your last 18 years. You're not done. You always keep an eye on the past, but are very mindful of the future. And I think wrestling as a whole has done a very good job of that.
Oh, absolutely. And you raise a good point too. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. And I think
we're glad we finally got you on the show. We were like, we got to get him on.
I appreciate it. I think you raise a good point. Live shows. Come to a live show sometime. If you're in Iowa, Minnesota, wherever, if you find a local independent wrestling, I think the atmosphere of, like you said, Nick, the atmosphere is infectious. And it's like, maybe you walk away saying, I don't know if I love watching it on TV, but I might go to the next Impact Pro Wrestling show.
Yes.
Or what have you. It's the independent's got a lot of good wrestling.
And it's different going to, like you mentioned, going to a live show. We're not talking about, just a WWE coming through your town type of show. We're talking about where the younger talent is going to get their start, the wrestlers of the future, as well as some veterans who maybe not have made it big, but they are definitely big stars in their area. And the feel for me, I would rather go to that indie show than go to the arena because it's more intimate. You interact with not just the fans, but the wrestlers as well. You're jaw jacking back and forth. The heels are yelling out at you. It's so much more gratifying for me to have that interaction and to have that atmosphere than going to one of those big arena shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can just, if you're in the atmosphere, you can feel for the good guy or the bad guy, whoever you want to win or lose. You can get caught up in, hey, he almost had him, but he missed him by that much. Or I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do next month.
Right.
I mean, because they're upset at each other, and next month they're saying, hey, steel cage or what have you. Like, I mean, it's infectious when you go to a wrestling show. It's just a great atmosphere and something for everybody, I think.
There is. There absolutely is. There absolutely is.
Yeah.
And on that line, James, we've had you in studio for about an hour now. We like to be respectful of everybody's time, but if they want to come see you in person in one of these live atmospheres, where can we find you in the coming weeks?
So I'll have a few shows coming up. So I'm wrestling for Social X Wrestling in Reedland, Iowa, coming up on September 20th. And then I'm going to wrestle again for them on the 27th of September. And I believe that one's in Northwood, Iowa.
That's a casino at Diamond Joe's Casino.
Yeah, Diamond Joe Casino. So I'll be there. October 4th, I'll be back down in St. Louis to defend the Central States World title for SICW. Always love going down to SICW and wrestling and being around the guys and gals. They always welcome me in with open arms. So I'm looking forward to go down there October 4th and October 5th. And then October 11th, I'll be at APW in Waterloo. So I believe, and I missed the last Waterloo show because I was homesick and I didn't want to get anybody else sick. So I really was very bummed that I missed the show and I missed the wrestling fans. So I'm very sorry to everybody who bought a ticket, to see me wrestle. And I really was hoping to be there. So, but I am looking forward to being there on the 11th. So I'm feeling better now and got a lot of fun shows coming up. So real close by. So
James, is there anywhere that people want to follow you on socials that they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, X at the Real J Double is my handle on there. James Jeffries on Instagram. That's the best place to find me. So, yeah. And any Impact Pro Wrestling show, come up, say hi. Come up, say hi at some of these other ones
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
Absolute Pro, Social X Wrestling, SICW. If you're watching tonight, please come up and say hello. So, and yeah, just thanks everybody for the support over the years.
And James, thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. We were so happy to get you in the studio. Appreciate you being here. And I know there's so much more. We scratched the surface. So anytime you want to come back and we have an opening, you are more than welcome.
I would love that. Anytime you guys want to have me, just reach out. I really enjoyed our conversation tonight and I had a good time. So thank you for having me. And thanks again to all the wrestling fans for all the support.
Absolutely.
All these years, so.
Before we completely wrap up here, I do want to give a little bit of a preview. We've got our short form show, The Kickout, where we're back in studio this week after having a couple of pre-recorded episodes to promote Bridge City. But Nick, I'm going to let you talk about next Sunday because I know this is something that you booked for us. So have at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited. We are going to have Joyce Postian on the show. Joyce is an author of a book about her fandom for the AWA, including pictures that she took. She has taken pictures for years of these wrestling shows, and they are showcased throughout this book. Of course, Joyce is a part of the Tragos Fez Hall of Fame weekend, and that's where I first met her a couple years ago. And then we finally said, hey, we got to get you on the show because I read the book. It's amazing. I can't talk about it enough because not only is it wrestling history, if you're from this area, a lot of, Quad City or Iowa, Illinois wrestling history is racked up in this AWA book. So I cannot wait to get Joyce on. She's got a great story, and I can't wait for everybody else to hear that story.
100%.
That book is great.
You know about that book. Yes, it is.
Yep.
I'm in the process of reading it myself. I will have it finished by next Sunday. I'm excited. It's such a good read and so many great pictures. I can't wait to talk to her. Super excited for that. But that is going to wrap things up for tonight's episode of Card Subject to Change. Again, huge thank you to James Jeffries for being a part of the show. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
For my tag team partner, one half of the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, Mr. Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ, and we'll see you next week right back here on Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.